So let's talk about an interesting topic. I know there's World War III going on basically in Ukraine. Started in Ukraine, and but what's interesting is how cryptocurrencies are going to be used and handle themselves. Now, they were marketed. I mean, United States, because due to the invasion of Ukraine, slapped on sanctions like it always does. Um, which I mean, you would think that which is I mean I'm all about fairness here. You would think that if an actual neutral third party, like that's not a country at all, and then like if a country's behaving badly, would slap sanctions on somebody. I mean, United States would have been sanctioned a long time ago for all sorts of involvement and over toppling other people's governments, democratically elected, by the way. I mean, it's like in the case in Iran, invading countries that had nothing to do with terrorist attacks, Iraq. I mean, behaving really badly. So I just hate even though I'm pretty sure Russia's in the wrong here, or not Russia, but I don't want to use the word Russia because it's the Russian government, which is, a handful, like the handful of decision makers. They are in the wrong here. Now the whole country has to suffer. So should the United States been sanctioned for a lot of its government's actions? Yeah, I think so. If it was like a neutral, but there is no neutral third party. It's just the United States deciding who it's going to reprimand and cripple economy, which I think inherently is pretty unfair. And so now we have this blow-off valve due to the incursion by Russia into Ukraine. The world is piling on, trying to cancel Russia completely. And here with the with severe sanctions, they get kicked off of SWIFT. Ruble dropped to 100 rubles is now equal a dollar. And it's probably going to get worse and worse. But now United States is a little hot and bothered because this time we have crypto. So Russian citizens might be able to shield some of their savings from this complete economic catastrophe. And the whole thing behind these sanctions is, well, the idea behind it's better than going to war. We don't want to bomb and go to war and have people die. We're just gonna reprimand the country because when we slap sanctions, it's gonna cripple their economy. The people are gonna be super annoyed, gonna sow discontent, and they're gonna vote Putin out of office or something, or they're gonna like rise up and overthrow the top of their government to have the sanctions relieved. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think has ever worked. There might be a case, but usually it just cripples the people, the citizens, and now the citizens are more reliant on the dictator. The dictator's obviously has already got around the sanctions and is doing quite well. So it kind of consolidates their power. I mean, Iran was sanctioned for how many years? North Korea has been sanctioned maximally for how many years? And yet their government is still going strong while their population is really beat down. So, cryptocurrency. I know even though the economic situation in Russia is going to be completely brutal, yet this might push Russia, like wars and pandemics, they kind of typically tend to fast forward, like make future events come sooner, speed up technology, speed everything up. So maybe Russia's adoption of crypto, regular people adopting crypto, might be sped up here by like 10, 20 years, which is actually that's why I like this article. It's interesting. The pandemic in America sped up the remote work, people going remote by 10 years, people moving out of New York, LA, high tax states, knowing that, hey, you can freelance digitally, remotely from anywhere in the United States, which put a lot of pressure on those governments and how they're going to deal with it. That's interesting. And what's interesting here is, can the citizens mitigate some of the damage by the sanctions by just going to crypto? Now, of course, people like Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both don't like crypto. So I think that's a huge plus. It's like when those people have a consensus if there was something they don't like, that's usually a really good sign that it's a really good thing. So United States now is pushing to have a lot of these crypto exchanges to freeze Russian coins, so they can't get around the sanctions, or the Russian people can't shelter their money from complete economic collapse or inflation or what have you, or could still get their money out of the country or still use it to buy coffee or whatever, right? And they're really disappointed by some of the exchanges saying no. But they obviously, everything's on the line for the exchanges. If the exchanges start freezing people in Russia's money for the actions of the government, I mean, what's the point of using crypto or that exchange? You have to just go directly and buy the crypto yourself. Yes, of course, the exchanges are more convenient for sure, but that's it. You know what's even more convenient? Just putting your money in a regular bank. But then any government can seize it. Any government has access to it. So the whole point of crypto is to get around government. I mean, could you really even trust like Canadian banks now? They had some trucker convoy protest that was completely legal. It's not like ISIS. You weren't sending money to ISIS. Some school teacher sent $50 to the trucker rally or whatever, and got her whole bank account seized, or frozen, like she was a terrorist. So obviously you can't trust American banks. I mean, I guess America's not so tyrannical quite yet, but still, I mean, the IRS can seize, or the U.S. government can seize your money. They can't seize your money for donating to some protests quite yet, but who knows? So I love this idea of crypto. Let's get into the article here, because they're here, Reuters.com. They're very huffing and puffing that their world currency domination it's not coming to an end here, but it's showing some cracks. So London, March 3rd. Some of the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchanges are staying put in Russia, breaking ranks with mainstream finance, a decision that experts say weakens Western attempts to isolate Moscow following the invasion of Ukraine. Well, that's the whole point. You're not mainstream finance. That's the whole benefit of it. What the? Western sanctions, which attempt to freeze Russia's economy and sever from the global financial system, has forced companies and financial firms in droves to halt business in the country. And okay, so not this is a funny aside, but basically they're saying, hey, all these companies, to do damage to the Russian economy, all these countries are going to pull out and not do business with. They're not going to do trade. Yet these same politicians that propose this, knowing that this is going to cripple Russia's economy, the same politicians would run on, hey, elect me. I'm going to revitalize American manufacturing, stop the cheap imports. We're going to impose tariffs, and we're going to cut off America, United States, from these other cheap labor countries like China or whatever, Vietnam, and everything's going to be made in America. And when we buy American, our money is going to be circulating so well. We're going to have all these awesome new jobs, revive American manufacturing, which is, it's like they don't see the obvious contradiction, or I guess it doesn't really matter, because if the politicians see it or not, it's the voters. It sounds good to the voters, so that's what they'll do, which is ridiculous. Pretty stupid. I mean, trying to make everything in America with. Can you imagine how poor and the buying power and the standard of living would be of America if you had to make everything internally? Anyway, but many of the world's largest crypto exchanges, including Binance, U.S.-based Kraken, and Coinbase, have stopped short of blanket ban on Russian clients despite plea from Ukrainian government for one. They said they would screen users and block anyone targeted by sanctions. This standoff illustrates the ideological gulf between the traditional financial sector and the world's cryptocurrencies, whose roots lie in libertarian ideals and distrust governments. Yeah, but of course you should distrust governments. I mean, the Russian government, you're saying the Russian government is a bad, oppressive government that decided to invade a peaceful country. But then, we should still trust government. We should have our whole life savings in the government's money, deposited where the government can do anything they want to it, or inflate it away. The crypto exchanges argue that cutting off a whole nation would run counter to Bitcoin's ethos of offering access to payments free of government oversight. Yet some anti-money laundering specialists warn the exchanges could be keeping a route open for Russians to move money abroad, thus undermining Western efforts to pressure Russia to back away from the war. Yeah. But all these, even if it's not, once these sanctions are put on, is it real? Does really Russia like back away from the war? Like what if Russia strikes a peace deal with Ukraine? Are these sanctions going to be miraculously lifted and everything's go back to nothing? No. So I think they already. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Like they already dug themselves into a hole. Well, at this point, you're like maximally sanctioned. Well, at this point, you gotta do screw it. You gotta take over the rest of the country because even they know that hypothetically, if they thought that they made a blunder, well, what can they do? How can they save face now? Was there any turning back? And now you're just causing untold suffering to the American Russian citizens, which probably never voted for Putin. It probably is all the sham elections anyway. Quote, there's no question sanctions are diminished. Oh no. Ross Delston, U.S. lawyer and former banking regulator, added that cryptocurrencies allow an avenue for a flight to safety that would haven't existed otherwise. But it would be cool. I mean, I know Bitcoin is super volatile now, but it would be amazing to have a Bitcoin or like a cryptocurrency that's flight to safety from the government's imposed inflation. While most exchanges do require ID checks, the rigor of know your customer rules differs across industry, worrying regulators who can see crypto as a vehicle for illicit cash. I mean, this is a bullshit argument anyway, because most of the illicit activities is done in the U.S. dollar anyway. Anti-money laundering and crypto experts said people targeted by sanctions may try to move funds via so-called privacy coins, a class of cryptocurrencies that obscures the identity of users more than Bitcoin. Supporters say they offer users greater protection from intrusive monitoring by governments. Russian households and businesses have rushed to convert rubles into foreign currencies as the ruble hits a record low of 110 versus the dollar on Wednesday. As a side note, I've been to Russia in 2016 when one ruble was 60. $1 was 60 rubles. It was amazing. I mean, that was already considered like a low. I remember going to bars and getting drinks, like really good, like mixed drinks, like craft drinks that like they would charge you $10 here for. It was basically like $1. So I was, buying caviar, living it up over there. But now, I mean, if you go there now, I mean, obviously you're screwed. You can't convert. I mean, how you going to get money? But how you going to use your dollars there? It could be very problematic. But could you just imagine everything being even cheaper, twice as cheap? There are signs too that suggest that people are scrambling to convert savings to crypto. Trading volumes between the ruble and cryptocurrencies hit 15.3 billion on Monday. threefold jump from a week earlier, according to Crypto Compare. The spike has worried regulators, with the European Commission looking at whether crypto is being used to get around sanctions. Oh no. And an EU official said on Wednesday, the U.S. Treasury said Russia business or individuals will not be able to use crypto to skirt sanctions, citing problems converting digital currencies to traditional money via financial firms that's subject to anti-money laundering rules. Even at the level of individual elites, laundering billions of dollars through digital wallets would expose them to have tracking flows with virtual currency markets, a spokesperson said, adding that anti-money laundering rules and sanctions also apply to crypto exchanges. Britain's financial watchdog did not respond to requests. Okay. The crypto exchange's stance goes against that of several traditional payment companies and fintech firms that have responded to sanctions by restricting services in Russia. Okay, here goes the payment companies. Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov Sunday asked crypto exchanges to block digital wallets of Russian users. Oh, fuck you. Kraken CEO Jesse Powell said he would not do it, calling Bitcoin the embodiment of libertarian values. Blocking users from an entire country does not necessarily punish those who are actually responsible. It may have helped prepared for the possibility of blanket sanctions. Kraken complies with legal and regulatory requirements in all jurisdictions where it operates. Well, they just know that your website's going to be useless if you're going to start. I mean, if you're going to block Russians today, what's to stop you that, in Canada, like seizing crypto that somebody donated like 0.001 Satoshi to the Freedom Convoy or whatever. Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, also refused to ban all Russian users, but says it's blocking the accounts of any clients targeted by sanctions. Oh yeah, but individually targeted by sanctions. Binance accounts for over 40 of all crypto trades in rubles. Crypto Compare said Binance spokesperson declined to comment on the figure or give details of any sanctioned users it had blocked. U.S. cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase too said it would not impose blanket ban on transactions involving Russians, though it would block accounts of those targeted by sanctions. Same thing. Yet continuing to operate in Russia likely poses risk for exchanges themselves. Joby Carpenter, specialist crypto and illicit finance in the Associated of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists. Exchanges and ultimately banks where cryptocurrencies off-ramp will need to be alert those efforts to avoid breaching sanctions or terrorism legislation. No, I mean, we need a global, these cryptocurrencies are on the right path. We do need a global crypto that hides users' identity, and that these awful governments could keep their hands off. Because once, the government has you by the balls. If you use government fiat money and deposit it into your government account, you're basically so much more freedom. It's the whole thing with like CDs back in the day. You had to buy a $20 CD to listen to 10 songs. Well, Napster came out, and anybody can download as much free music as they want. So they had to compete and basically create a compromise, which is Spotify, and which is you can listen to all the music you want in the world for $8 a month. So that's the thing with this. Anonymous cryptocurrencies are going to put so much pressure on the governments over taxes, sanctions, and other bullshit that they'll have no choice but to compete and provide citizens a much less tax rate, and everything just improving overall because, hey, now they have people have an exit ramp.